Hey everyone, it is the end of 2022 and we have some time to do some fun stuff. This is the last week of the year. So we can do some, end of year 2022 reflections and all that. So let's talk about the best nations in 2022. Now we have to split it up into the different formats because it's really weird trying to combine Stoicheia, Stoicheia, Zoo, Megalanic, they messed everything up. Lyrical went off its. So we have to do it a bit different, right? We have to do it by format, and we're just going to talk about the best ones, right? Why the nations? This is fun. All right, this is fun. Don't take it too seriously. Think about it in your heads before I start revealing the best nations. Like, just think about which ones are the best and which ones are the worst. And I'm going to start off with standard. So let's take a look. Which is the worst nation in standard? And I think this might surprise quite a bit of you. But the worst nation here I put is Dragon Empire. Now, why is Dragon Empire the worst? So, let's talk about the best decks in Standard and how long they've been dominating. And for Dragon Empire, the ones that stick out the most is Mahanavana and Overlord. Now, they were relatively strong at the beginning of the year, especially in the English format, because we just got set 4 and it's time to just, it's time to win. But they've basically just been kind of dropping off for the whole year, right? They got that huge buff at the beginning, then Nirvana got Jiva, and yeah, that's all she wrote. Like, Overlord, right? We've just got the Overlord promo, but, again, there's nothing else. Tamayura's been okay, recently got some support from set 8. That's like very, very recent. So really, in terms of significant improvements to the Dragon Empire nation as a whole in Standard, not much has been going on there, so that's why they rank the last, right? Second last has been Lyrical Monasterum. This also might surprise quite a bit of you. I think it's alright, like Lyrical overall, but let's look at what they got this year in 2022. Lorne Roll, that was kind of like last year's stuff, right? And of course, it was still like an okay power, one of the better decks, of course, but it quickly dropped off as, like, cards became better. Right, as more stuff got released. Lorne dropped off pretty quickly, and then set 2 benefited this nation absolutely nothing. Right, it gave like effect triggers, and that was it. Fast forward to, like, actually set 2 did give Grateful Kai, so we'll give it that, right? We'll give that. It gave Melty as well, and we gave Eileen, right? Some good cards, but really nothing else. So sure, Grateful Kai, strong. And then later on, we have Lyrical 3, which is a good set. It's a good set. We got some Michu. That was okay. We got a bunch of other, like, releases as well. But most of it got Lutetia. Very strong deck as well. But, two good decks. Guess what else had 2 good decks, right? We had Mahanavana and Overlord. And they ranked pretty poorly. So that is why Lyrical is so low, right? Lyrical is fifth place. Because when we start comparing it to the other nations, like this next one, we have Dark States. Now, you might be wondering, why is Dark States so low as well? Doesn't it dominate the entire meta? Quite, like right now especially, right? In Japan, Chronojet, absolute domination. Dark States basically has a bunch of decent decks. Not maybe the best decks, but still decent decks that carries it through the year until Chronojet time, right? So let's think about it, right? So first we have Chronojet that has been dominating Japan for the second half of the year, pretty much. Well, maybe the last, let's just say the last third of the year, right? But, like, we also have things like Bruce and Barrow Magnus. You might say Bruce, it hasn't been that strong, but it showed results at the beginning of the year, right? It showed some results at the beginning of the year. Barrow has been kind of like up and down, but, the recent support is pretty good. Greedon has even shown some wins in, like, BCS, not significant ones, but some players have been doing very, very well with it. I think the fact that it just the power, right? The power of Chronojet, as well as there's a bunch of other decks that do very well inside the nation, really carries it forward and gives it the edge over Lyrical. I want to say that these two are kind of like very, very similar in terms of power level, in terms of like the strength of their nation, but just the extra few decks edge the Dark States forward. So that's why it gets 4th place. In 3rd place, though, we have Keter Sanctuary. Now, why is Keter here? Right? What's been good with Keter, right? What's going on? Well, it got Youthberg recently. Youthberg's been dominating quite a lot, still showing quite a lot of results. in terms of the other strong deck at the beginning of the year, we saw quite a few Bastions to the point where they had to restrict Darkstrain, right? And that's when they finally shut down a bunch of decks. But then let's look at the other decks in Keter. There's a lot of decks available. The other one that really kind of stands out is Phantom Blaster Overlord. Right after it got its PR, there's been more and more playability for that set until like Ava came out. But overall, it did have quite strong decks. Bastion, you know, just continuing to just do its own thing, as well as Youthberg. So overall, it's kind of had near year-long support coverage, and then PBO, and you know, well, Hexorb comes up once in a while. We recently see some, you know, Graham Grace. There's just a lot going on with Keter. Like you look at Keter and go, there is always gonna be like a good deck from it at some point. The only bad part is like the Overtrigger sucks. Alright, that's it. So that's why Keter is in 3. But now we're into the big leagues now, the last 2. So let's just kind of reveal them now. So in 5th place of Stoicheia, in 6th place, and 1st place of Brandgate. I don't think we need to talk about Brandgate at all, right? Brandgate continuously pumps out strong decks. Ava again. Seraph, right? Seraph, and then Gravidia. Absolute domination. There is so much Brandgate in the meta in Standard that it's just amazing. And it also is Elder Breath. Like, really good, right? So, overall, very strong nation. Then we have Stoicheia. Stoicheia is kind of weird. I think you're wondering, why is Stoicheia here? Stoicheia has been, like, okay, right? The first half of the year was absolutely dominated by Inlet Pulse. And, well, basically Inlet Pulse. But with Magnolia as well. And it led to its restriction down the line with the same time as Bastion. So that and Keter is pretty similar. I think you can kind of, like, say, you know, Magnolia Inlet is pretty much the equivalent of, like, the Youthberg domination. So that kind of cancels it out. But in terms of significant decks in Stoicheia, we do have things like Zorga and Flagberg that do pretty decently. Zorga, like, not so much compared to Flagberg. Flagberg did show some results in Japan, but also has been showing, like, results around the world. While things like PBO did show some results in Japan, but not as much in the West, right? It kind of just didn't really pick up in the West. And, like, I mean, Bastion, kind of a similar story, I want to say. Like, Bastion showed up more in Japan, much more popular there compared to the West. So yeah, that is why I just put Stoicheia a bit forward. The extra decks it has makes it a better deck compared to Keter. They both kind of shared some restrictions as well because it had some, you know, Magnolia domination with similar to Youthberg, right? But, you know, nothing comes close to Brandgate. Right? Brandgate in 2022, absolutely crack nation. Absolutely crack nation. And it's only looking better. It's only looking better. That's the crazy thing, right? You know, with Sed, this Brandgate stuff, whew. I don't know what's going to change. Right? Let's move on to V. I think V is quite interesting right now. Worst nation in V is actually just Zoo, right? What has Zoo been doing? What is good from Zoo? The only good deck from Zoo has been Great Nature, and I think a lot of people say Great Nature is like the middest nation in this current format. It only recently got that support here, right? So, hey, you know, you're in Steam Maiden format. But then, if you're not in Steam Maiden format as well, like, the deck is okay, but still not, like, hyper amazing. Compare, like, just think about the other other clans in Zoo. Neo Nectar, nothing, right? Mega Colony in V, nothing as well, right? So, I think Zoo just has nothing going for it right now. It deserves its, like, kind of 6th place slot, right? Coming up next, though, is we have Dragon Empire. This might shock quite a few of you. But think about it. What has Dragon Empire been doing in V? It has Vanquisher, and that's kind of it, right? What else? Like, okay, maybe Kagero? But no, not really, right? So yeah, you know, and you think about Kagero, it has not Kagero. If you think about Dragon Empire, it has more nations inside it. Oh, I'm mixing them. It has more clans inside it than a lot of other nations, right? So think about the ones that haven't been doing much. Tachikaze. Not much. Not much in V. Murakumo and Nubatama? Yeah? Don't think so, right? So, I think it deserves its 5th place slot, right? And then let's look at the 4th place. We have Stargate? I was about to say Brandgate. Stargate. So, Stargate is interesting, right? In V, like, Dimension Police is okay, right? It's okay. You also have Link Joker, right? Link Joker is also okay, but I think it's like it's similar to Vanquisher in that Link Joker has been okay for like the whole year. You have like Link, like Chaos Messiah. Maybe I'm kind of overrating Chaos Messiah, but you have that. You also had a Glenios that topped recently. To be brutally honest, I think Dragon Empire and like kind of Stargate is in a similar situation in V. In that it's just not very good, right? It's just they're just not very good. A lot of its clans just don't really do anything, like Nova Grapplers. But at least you have like two half decent decks in Stargate compared to the one in Dragon Empire. That I guess that's the best way to put it. And sure, right? Maybe Dragon Empire, the Vanquisher is like that much better. Well, let's be honest. In every single format that like a Vanquisher would be good in, there are a lot of other decks in V that is just better than Vanquisher. So that kind of shuts it down. So yeah, unlucky for Dragon Empire. Next we have is the Dark Zone. So you might be pretty surprised why Dark Zone is so low. Isn't it dominating with Steam Maidens? 80 tops? Shouldn't that just make it the best nation in V Premium? Well, you know, you still have other factors to consider. Steam Maiden, sure, is quite strong. After it got its support, like, in the second half of the year for V Clan Collection, it has really only been dominating BCS when you think about it, right? BCS. Previously to that, the other Dark Zone clan we have is Dark Irregulars. And, I mean, Dark Irregulars is good. It's an okay, but it wasn't really the best deck all the time. So you had, the rest of it, you had a decent deck. And then in the second half of the year, or the second third of the year, you had an extremely strong deck. But let's kind of compare it to everything else, because you remember, you have like 2 other clans in this nation. You have Pale Moon, really hasn't been doing much, right? And then you also have Spike Brothers, really hasn't been doing that much in V. Alright, so overall, you know, again, let's go back. 1 super strong clan, 1 okay clan. How does it compare to the rest? So, second place, we have Keter Sanctuary. And that means first place, we have Megalonica. Let's kind of talk about these nations, right? So, Keter Sanctuary, not Keter, United Sanctuary, not Keter Sanctuary. United Sanctuary, think about the good clans in United Sanctuary. Genesis, Astral Poets, Fenrir has been dominating. Well, not dominating, but doing very well. They've been consistently doing very well, right? Angel Feather, like, Gabriel needed to get hit. So, hey, it did. It is what it is, right? But that just adds another tally to that United Sanctuary lineup. Even things like Raging Form, Shadows, like Luard, sure, but you know, there was a format where Raging Form was doing very, very well as well, with the Raging Fall support. And then you still have Jewel Knights randomly topping. Jewel Knights randomly topped before they got their reverse support, then Jewel Knights topped when they did get their reverse support. But then you also have Gold Paladin, right? Remember Gurgit era? This nation has been just cracked, right? Doing a lot of meta decks, a lot of decks that are great, right? The only like deck that hasn't been, only clan that hasn't been doing that great in United Sanctuary is Oracle Think Tank. So that's that, but the rest, 5 out of 6, that's pretty busted, right? That's pretty busted. The only like nation that really matches the goodness that that United Sanctuary has is Megalonica. Because think about the good decks from this nation. Prism, and then after Prism got hit, like Prism, but like, you know, that's another thing, right? Anj, right? After like the Prism hit, so they hit Prism, they just go to Anj. Still a good deck. A lot of people playing it. And then you also have things like Grand Blue. Continuously still do good. Nice solid deck for the entire Well, at least the first half of the year. And then you also have like Thavis Aquaforce, which is also a good deck, right? It's gotten some wins in V. Got some like tops later on as well, being able to rush. So overall, I feel like, you know, Megalonica and United Sanctuary, both very, very strong nations. I gave it to Megalonica just because it has like that 3 out of 3 good deck vibe. United Sanctuary, like 5 out of 6 is still not bad. And honestly, still a lot of power picks there. So overall, I wouldn't be surprised if, you know, your opinions differ there. United Sanctuary and Megalonica kind of like, you know, just the toppest, the best out of everything in a V Premium. And then lastly, we move on to Premium. What are the best nations here? So the worst one is actually pretty crazy. It is Stargate. Stargate has no good clans in Premium. Nova Grapplers, it's not really a thing. Link Joker, just play around it, all right? Just play around it. And then Dimension Place. It used to be a pretty decent deck, but, you know, I think it's quite overrated. A lot of people like it quite a lot, you know, because you can do the one shot and all that. Then you have things like Sanctuary get released. Then you have people playing better. Then you have decks getting better. It kind of dropped off quite a bit. And, you know, at its prime, at its peak as well, Dimension Place still didn't perform that good. So, like, right after Prem Collection release, still didn't perform that good. So, yeah, that's why a nation with no good clans in Premium sits in last place, right? In second last place, we have Zoo. Once again, very sad nation, right? The only thing that really did well in Zoo was Mega Colony. And that was for that first Springfest season where, you know, Mega Colony was great. That was combining with Ruination, which is not really a distinct Mega Colony card, right? So yeah, this nation really hasn't done anything. Great Nature, not a thing, right? Neo Nectar, even less of a thing. So well deserved 5th place. Only has the edge over Stargate because, yeah, Mega Colony topped a few times, well, more than a few times. Right? Then in 4th place we have United Sanctuary. This one is surprising. What has been doing well in United Sanctuary? So first we have Regalia. That's been consistently doing okay. You have random tops with Jewel Knights, right? So that's not bad. That's doing well. But apart from that, right, maybe you have the one guy that tops of Loire in Premium. But that's kind of it, right? That's kind of it. This nation really hasn't been doing much at all, right? Maybe there's some Oracle Think Tank tops. It's cool. Yeah, apart from, like, the main dog being Genesis, lasting through the entire year of, like, goodness versus Mega Colony being only good the first half of the year. Yeah, this is pretty much where United Sanctuary should be. I think the top 3 in Premium should be where the interesting stuff is had, with 3rd place going to Dragon Empire. Now, Dragon Empire is actually an easy, interesting one. It's not an easy one, it's an interesting one. Narukami has topped quite a lot, right? Quite a lot, at least in the second half of the year. And then in the first half of the year, it was still pretty good, right? It was still pretty good. After, like, BRO times, it was still okay. In Springfest, like, maybe not so much. But then you also have, like, Murakumo, right? Kind of the dark horse. There were some Murakumo tops as well. And apart from that, like, Dragon Empire, when you think about it, it only really comes in 3rd place through the sheer amount of tops it has with, like, with Narukami. That's kind of it, right? That's kind of it. The rest of it is, like, yeah, Dragon Empire, like, a lot of it's, like, not that great, you know? I think, like, Tachikaze top like once or twice. Yeah, apart from that, it's, like, kind of it, right? It's kind of it. But the real fight is in the top 2, but I think quite a few players already can see where this is going. Best and second best nation, we have Megalonica coming second, and then first is Dark Zone. Dark Zone has been doing amazing in Premium this year, right? Steam Maidens in Premium, pretty good. MFD, yo, had to get banned. Had to get banned, right? And then we had, like, you know, Spike Brothers recently topped, Dark Regulars recently did a thing. You also had Nightmare Dolls at the beginning of the year too. Dark Zone basically is everything is tier 1 in Dark Zone, right? So well-deserved first place. And then we have the Megalonica in second place. We had Ripples. They had Ripples. They still have like a lot of good clans too. You know, Grand Blue, Aquaforce, all doing well in Premium. And then Bermuda Triangle too, like Highlander doing great. So overall, another nation that has quite a few wins, but you know, Dark Zone is just clearly the better one. So when we're looking in Premium, like in Premium, it's kind of interesting. Top 2 is just so solid, a solid top 2. The rest were kind of whatever. Honestly, the rest are kind of whatever. But yeah, these are the best nations in pretty much all the different formats. As you can see, probably if we were to combine like V-Prem and Prem, right, Megalanica is like the best nation right there. Because they came first and second. And then second will probably like Dark States, right? But you look at, I think the funny thing is you look at this ranking is you go, Stoicheia is the combination of Megalanica and Zoo, right? Clearly one like nation won out here compared to the other one. And then like, you know, Megalanica probably got like so pissed they joined with Zoo that the Bermuda people just went to Lyrical Monastery and created their own country. They're like, yo, we're not teaming up with Zoo. These guys do nothing. But yeah, that is my rankings for this year. Let me know in the comments if you think this is correct or if I'm totally wrong. And yeah, that's it. Have a good holidays, and we'll be discussing the giveaway results very soon too. So bye.